Fall is here and the deer rut is right around the corner. And with that being said, I don't only want to tell you the story of the biggest buck I've ever killed, but I also want to tell you the story of every single deer we've killed on YouTube, starting with the latest. January 2022. I had hunted a hard season. I had set about 50 hunts this year, literally burning up the woods, which in hindsight, probably not the best idea to kill a deer. But I was seeing deer everywhere. I had trail camera pictures, trail camera videos of big bucks all over the place. I had some dark horned ones. I had some tight racked ones. I even had one that literally only had one antler. And it was crazy. Earlier in the year during the rut, I had rattled a little bit and even got one to come in charging at me twice. Neither of those times was I able to execute. I had a tight rack buck named Jeffrey pawing at a scrape, which I had peed in 4 hours earlier, but it was January. Season was ticking down and the rut had been over for months. I shifted my focus to this one buck in particular. I'd been getting him on camera quite often at this point. I figured out his pattern. So one day I slipped in there, got up in the tree, and here that bad boy came. He came right into the corn pile and everything was working perfectly. Until it wasn't. The spot came in and the buck chased him off. Well, I was getting nervous. I thought he figured something was up. So I pulled back my bow and I let that arrow fly. Absolutely missed him, brother. Complete miss. On the way back home, I almost jumped off a bridge. Luckily, I didn't because I reviewed the footage and figured out that I wasn't as bad of a shot as I thought I was. In reality, the shot itself was 40 yards. And what actually happened was my shot was perfect, except the deer literally dropped down and moved out of the way before the arrow could get to him. For the rest of the season, I didn't see him again. I seen a couple other bucks, one of which, Ricardo, didn't want to shoot him though. He wasn't that big. Until the last day of season rolled around. It wasn't big, it was a spike, but by golly, I pulled back and I actually hit something this time. But not in a good spot. I hit him in a terrible spot. I held with my 20-yard pin. He was actually about 6 yards. It is what it is. I hit him and was finding little trickles of blood here and there. Was not a good blood trail at all, but I did end up finding this big piece of intestines sitting on the ground. That gave me hope to keep tracking. I called in my uncle to come help me. We tracked it down the mountain about half a mile, and we looked up and he was literally sitting there staring at us. So we backed out, came back the next morning, and he was sitting right there where we thought he would be. Hey, he ain't big, but he's definitely a buck. Tagged out, baby, tagged out. January 2022, only a couple weeks prior to the spike I killed on the last day. It was youth season, so I wanted to take out a youth. I went and grabbed my buddy Timmy, absolute savage sharpshooter. We were meat hunting. If it's brown, it's stinking down. We literally sat on the edge of a field with a black fold-up table. We had been there about 5 minutes. A big string of does come straight out. I say, Timmy, you said biggin'? I want you to smoke it one time. And he said, I bet. Literally perfect shot. With a 308, I'm surprised that thing ran as far as it did. We went down, got on the blood trail. It looked like someone got hit by like a train. Okay, it was bloody. This deer ran almost 100 yards and it hit the dirt. I'm a black and white this, but that is the exit wound from that 308. I am extremely surprised it ran 100 yards. September 2021. Early season, pretty much still summer. The leaves were super green. I wanted to kill a doe. Fight me. I wanted tenderloin. Give me a break. Chill. At this point, I had never killed a deer with a bow. I kinda had, but never really found it. 6. Hashtag gut shot gang. Where you at? I found this spot with some big oak trees and I knew they were dropping acorns, so I just put up a tree stand, went and sat in that stand, and I'd had a trail camera there before, and I know that the does were coming in super consistently. And so just like clockwork, they came in super consistently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 does all showed up, some big, some little. At this point, I was just harvesting meat. They all sit in one spot and I just couldn't get a clear shot. There's too many limbs in the way. So once again, just like clockwork, they moved from the acorn flat into the field. I stood up, went, meh. Got it. She didn't go 20. And just like that, 2 back straps were in the freezer. And of the rest of the deer. We ate it all, as you could imagine. September 2020. A complete year before that last bow kill. But this time, I'm not the shooter. It is my 147-year-old grandma. An absolute unit. She fought in Korea, fought in Vietnam. This was literally Mammy's first time going deer hunting and first time going hunting at all. Now, of course, because Mammy's never shot a gun before, never shot a bow, never shot a crossbow, literally never shot anything except at some dog's hip fire, I had to take her out for some target practice and see what her capabilities actually were. You're gonna wanna hit inside that black circle. Pull it through.
Did I hit it?
You hit the... Long story short, it was pretty terrible. She missed the target every time. I had to get creative, guys. What if I pretend to be like a human tripod? You know what I mean? Like a aim assisting human tripod. But I'm not pulling the trigger. So that's what we did. We got in the blind. On this particular day, Mammy's fit was looking extra drippy. Where'd you get all that awesome merch from?
Got them from Kinder Grape.
1.com/shop.
I got them from 1.com shop.
That's exactly right. We posted up with the crossbow. I'd been watching these does for a while. Every single evening, as does do, they came right across the field 20 yards from the blind. And you know what happened? Right there that evening, 20 yards from the blind, I pulled up, said, Mammy, pull the trigger real slow. Well, bang! Missed the deer. The arrow goes flying over its back. Who knows where that arrow went? We never found it. To my surprise, the deer actually didn't care, which is awesome because they gave us a second chance. But yeah, I got to recock the crossbow. And in a noisy building with a 147-year-old grandma looking at me and about 4 does also looking at me. So the stakes had never been higher in my entire life. I got thinking, oh, look at those back muscles in action. I gripped it and ripped it. I recocked that thing, put a new arrow in it, sized it up again, and I said, Mammy, can you please maybe not jerk the trigger so hard this time? Old woman, okay? Stop being so old and do it the right way. And that is exactly what she did. Wait, no. Oh, Mammy just killed a deer. Mammy just stinking killed a deer. She stinking hammer timed that thing. Spine shot it. Unfortunately, I didn't get footage of the arrow actually hitting it, but I'm telling you, this is the deer. It went, stinking spine that thing. I'd never seen such a perfect kill shot. It's not where we was aiming, but that's where the arrow went. Hit the spine, paralyzed it, deflected straight down, double lung. Wild. That was unreal. It was amazing. I was happy. Mammy was happy. The deer was dead, but her cousin may have been happy. More acorns to go around now. It is what it is. Survival of the fittest. Get out of the way of the arrow if you didn't want to get shot. November 2020. I was in Virginia. First time ever deer hunting outside the state of Kentucky. The homeland. I was out there rocking with a crossbow. I'd practiced with it a little bit earlier in the day. I was hitting exactly where I needed to, okay? But it got like dark. Potentially after legal shooting lights. You be the judge. Once again, we were meat hunting. We looked out there. We saw some does. They looked back. They saw us too. But all is good in the neighborhood. Cause I pulled up that crossbow and I said, hey, yes sir, it's time to let it fly. Matt. Looks like a headshot to me. We'll see when we find it. So we walk up. It is dark at this time. Just got done eating lasagna, actually, which was bussin'. We get on the blood, and it's good blood. This is the first deer I've ever seen, which is bleeding and still trucking right uphill. And I'm talking like a 45-degree angle hill. I'm surprised this deer was doing this. Like you always hear everyone say, injured deer always go downhill. Well, this one was most definitely injured, okay, and it was going uphill. Talk to me there, scientist. What's happening? As we ridged the peak, we found the deer laying right there. It is actually not a doe, it was a spike. Is that potentially why there's a legal shooting lot? Probably, because I just lost a buck tag on a spike. But I mean, hey, it tasted the same. And it wasn't a headshot. It was a neck shot. And it was literally like right here. It killed him. He was dead. Somehow it didn't hit his spine though. But that's a topic for a different day. November 2020. The same trip in the same state of Virginia. This time, it's actually muzzleloader season. It was pre-rut, so the bucks were getting a little excited. We sat out there and we actually saw a spike come by. And we didn't want to shoot the spike for obvious reasons. Who would shoot a spike? Anyways, we let it walk, but then a doe came out. Now, I don't know if y'all are picking up on a common theme here, but I like to eat. A lot. So if we see a doe, a lot of times, we shoot it. And quick side note, the places in Virginia, there's like a ton of does and a ton of deer and not that many people hunt them. So yeah, doe management is kind of important. We point that gun up. My buddy Tanner's actually shooting this one. Aim down sight, let it rip. That deer literally flattened. Like, it wasn't a big doe to start with, and it just toppled over and was dead until it wasn't. It stood back up, started walking off. So then it's my turn. I stand up with my muzzleloader because he hasn't reloaded his yet because we're not smart like that. Aim down sight, perfect shot, maybe 50 yards, maybe less. Pull the trigger. Oh gosh. The cap. My muzzleloader didn't go off. And hashtag embarrassing. That deer kind of just like walked off, and we really didn't even know what to say. Here's the thing. Muzzleloader's big old bullet, kinda slow. It smacked the shoulder blade, and that's kinda it. The next day, we hit up another spot. We didn't see any deer, but we did see this black bear, which was definitely in season. Unfortunately, he just never got close enough, but man, would that have not been awesome if we would have killed the black bear? But yeah, like I said, we didn't. So moving on to the next day. Back out there with the muzzleloader, back out there meat hunting. This particular farm had a lot of doe problems, so at this point, we were truly doe hunting. Like if a buck walked out, we probably wouldn't even look at it because we needed the does. We look at it and we see this big group, and it's just making its way towards us. After we shoot the first one, for some reason these does just, I don't know, dude, they didn't run away though, they just stood there. So we took another shot. Alright, that one should be done too. And with that scope cam footage, that is literally so awesome. Comment below, how much do you guys like scope cam footage? Because the rut is coming up, and I will definitely buy a scope cam for you guys if you want me to. Anywho, we get out of the tree, we go looking for the deer. We find his deer really easy. It went about 30 yards and then just fell over. This is the rare case that a muzzleloader actually kills the deer. I don't know if y'all can tell, I do not like muzzleloaders. Not a fan at all. They don't bleed. But we couldn't find mine anywhere. And then we watched back the footage, watched it in slow motion, and we actually seen that I made a bad shot on it. Hashtag gut shot gang, way out. But you could watch the scope cam footage. I put it right where it needed to be, but for some reason, I don't know, maybe the wind, definitely not the wind, it moved away and it hit back there in the gut. So, no blood anywhere. And about a couple hours later, Tanner's dad actually came out and he found it. And it was just like laying over there in the bush. And I was like, oh, okay, well, we're really bad at tracking, apparently, because we looked for like 2 hours, couldn't find it. He walked out there, 5 minutes, he found it. Nice. Real nice confidence booster for my tracking skills right there. Upon further investigation, I actually hit exactly where I aimed, made a perfect shot, hashtag gut shot gang, not this time. In the footage, it was just the vibration of hitting the skin that made it look like I gut shot it. But why did it not bleed? I mean, seriously, this is a 50 caliber bullet. Why did it not bleed? If you also hate muzzleloaders, comment below and tell me your nightmare muzzleloader story. December 2020, the snow was in the air. Me and my buddy Cody wanted to go out on a snow hunt and try to kill us a nice doe. In this hunt, my buddy Cody is going to be the shooter. We found this old shack in the middle of the woods, which we have no idea what it was ever used for, but it was in a pretty nice spot. So we decided to set up shop there, put some corn out about a week earlier, and then we just sat down and chilled there. We live in Kentucky, so we get snow quite often, but it usually doesn't stick around that long. So a snow hunt was something really cool to us. As we sat down in the building, the snow was coming down and the deer were not coming down. Like, they weren't coming nowhere. I don't know what they doing. Probably at my tree or something. Then around 9:30, I was looking at my phone, as I have a bad habit too when I'm deer hunting. And then I look up and they're sitting there like 2 deer looking right at me. So I turned around, I was like, hey Cody, there's a deer out there. He got his bow up real quietly, drawed back, and let it fly. You hit it? Now, unfortunately, I was filming on my phone and it was kind of dark at the time, so we didn't get super great footage to see where we hit the deer. So we gave it some time, then we went to look at the blood trail, and we had a hard time finding blood at the start, and that was for a couple reasons. One, we really didn't know where we hit it, so we didn't know how much blood to expect in the first place. But two, It was currently snowing, and so it could bleed a drop, a couple flakes come down, cover it up, and we would never find it. And the longer we looked for blood, the more the snow kept coming down. And so that kind of lit us up. We had to figure something out. We both started getting a little frantic here because we had limited time to find this deer. Finally, I spotted a track, and then I just looked in the leaves, seen where they were kicked up, and just tried to track it as far as I could. I literally felt like I was some kind of like investigator because I was going from a little speck of blood to a couple leaves kicked up to a stick moved out of the way. And then as we tracked it a little bit further down the mountain, the deer literally took a step into a pile of leaves, smacked its head on the rock, and rolled right down the hill. And once we got up to it, it was actually a great shot. Just weird and didn't really bleed that good. November 2018, the day that I killed the biggest buck of my entire life. But before we get into that, the 2022 hunting season is right around the corner, and I actually make these products right here, which you guys might want for your season. We got backpacks, fanny packs, even this camo hoodie that I got on right now, pocket knives, orange hats, orange hoodies. And just for you guys, use promo code DEER, all caps, that's gonna get you 10% off anything on the website for the next few days. November 2018, I was a young gun. I was 18 years old. I had just started my YouTube channel the year before. I didn't have standards. I was gonna shoot whatever I seen. You could tell something was wrong from my loadout. A Ruger American Predator chambered in .223. But there I was, opening day of rifle season. The rut is here. I do whatever random deer hunter does. I throw on every piece of orange I got, go up to the top of a mountain, pick out a good rock, and put a white lawn chair in it. And you sit right there and you sit all day until you see a deer, and as soon as you do, you shoot it. And so I hadn't been there 5 minutes, and here he comes. Just got daylight. Just got daylight. You're stinking kidding me. When we went down there to look for the blood, similar story to some of these other deer. There wasn't none, okay? There just wasn't no blood. I don't know what happened, but I thought I hit him right. Like, I literally have this picture right here saved in my phone because I was telling my cousin that's literally where I shot him at. And I know that my rifle was sighted in because I did this the day before. Oh yeah, I'm good. 1, 2, 3, and those are really close together too. Well, if I made a good shot on him, and this is a good rifle, it's not a muzzleloader, why is not it bleeding? Because the doe that Timmy shot earlier bled really good. Well, for some reason, your boy KG decided to take out full metal jacket bullets. And for legal reasons, I'm joking. Full metal jackets, they go in and they come out and they don't expand. So theoretically, I would only have left a hole that big going in and a hole that big coming out. That's not good, by the way, if you don't know. There was literally blood nowhere. I didn't know what to do. All I knew what to do was sit in there with the camera and look good. Luckily, my cousin did, and he actually looked in the leaves, found his tracks, and we finally rolled up on the big deer. And let me tell you, even to this day, that is the biggest buck I've ever killed by a lot. By a lot. For a second there, I thought he was still alive, so I went ahead and choked him out to make sure. Depending on who you talk to, he was a 10-pointer or a 12-pointer. He was built like a typical 10-pointer, but somehow right at the base of his antlers had 2 1-inch kickers on both sides. Click over here if you want to see me go to Idaho for the first time and kill a black bear, or right over here for this most recent buck, which was my first buck ever taken with a bow.